Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be discussing about the poem John Brown by Bob Dylan, which is a part of Class 11 ICSE Syllabus, in which we will study in details about the poet, the theme, the message, the central idea, the stanza-wise summary of the poem, and the poetic devices used. For your convenience, I have added timestamps in the description so that if you wish to watch any segment again, you can just click on that particular timestamp to go through it. So without further delay, let's get started. First, let us know a little bit about the poet. Robert Allen Zimmerman, popularly known as Bob Dylan, is an American singer-songwriter, author, poet, and visual artist. Often regarded as one of the greatest songwriters of all times, Dylan has been a major figure in popular culture during a career spanning nearly 60 years. His songs became anthems for the civil rights and anti-war movements. His lyrics during this period incorporated a range of political, social, philosophical, and literary influences. His writing is known for its verbal dexterity, wit, social commentary, and adept handling of metaphor and rhyme. His lyrics have had a profound influence on writers as well as lyricists. Moving on to the theme of the poem, John Brown is an anti-war poem that highlights the toll war takes on young men. It highlights the horrors of war and debunks so-called heroism in war. The motive of the poem is to make people realize that war is not something to be proud of, as it causes so much destruction and damage. Such wars are no good to any society, as strength is lost after investing in war. The poet brings out the futility of war in this poem. In the message, we will come to know that through this poem, the poet ridicules the flawed idealization of war instead of glorifying or romanticizing it. The poem shows the harsh realities of war. It criticizes how wars are glorified and its horrors are ignored to make it seem a worthwhile endeavor. War is so fatal that it forces a man to act against his own race. The poet questions the very nature of war and shows us that there is no nobility in warfare, thereby strengthening the idea of peace. The central idea of the poem, John Brown, a poem by Bob Dylan, presents an imaginary story about John Brown, a soldier, and how he gets injured in an old-fashioned war. The conversation between the mother of John Brown and her soldier son depicts how common people respect the magnitude of such a nationalistic service. But in the end, they both suffer, the son physically and his mother mentally. The war, in which they have invested so much fascination and passion, ironically, the war offers them some medals only, along with lifelong suffering and agony. The first few verses of the poem reflect the fascination of commoners with war, and the last few sections of the poem shows us how such an attitude towards war proves to be catastrophic for a soldier and his loved ones. Let us now begin with the stanza-wise summary of the poem. Stanza 1. John Brown went off to war to fight on a foreign shore. His mama sure was proud of him. He stood straight and tall in his uniform and all. His mama's face broke out all in a grin. The titular character and his mother are introduced in this first stanza of the poem. John Brown joins the military and goes off to war in a foreign land. His mother fascinated with the national services, is happy to see her son in his uniform. Naturally, she is proud of her only son who is about to bring glory to the nation. Stanza 2. Oh son, you look so fine. I'm glad you are a son of mine. You make me proud to know you hold a gun. Do what the captain says. Lots of medals you will get, and we'll put them on the wall when you come home. John Brown's mother is glad to see her son in a soldier's uniform. She is proud of her son holding a gun and fighting for the country. The second line is rather ironic. Moreover, she advises her son to obey the orders of his senior. If he performs his duty well, he will get medals to adorn the wall of his house. The sense associated with this line presents a paradox. Stanza 3. As that old train pulled out, John's ma began to shout, telling everyone in the neighborhood, "That's my son that's about to go. He's a soldier now, you know." She made well sure her neighbors understood. In the third stanza, Bob Dylan depicts the scene of John Brown's departure. His mother is elated to see her son leaving the station. The use of a personal metaphor in the phrase old train reflects a sense of continuity that happened with other soldiers. Moreover, the mother told everyone in the neighborhood about her son joining the military. The last line is humorous as it says, she made well sure her neighbors understood. Stanza 4. She got a letter once in a while, and her face broke into a smile as she showed them to the people from next door, and she bragged about her son with his uniform and gun. And these things you called a good old-fashioned war. Oh, good old-fashioned war. In the fourth stanza, the mother's happiness is expressed through the letters sent by John Brown. The letters somehow make her feel so happy that she even shows them to her neighbors. However, in the third line, the use of the words uniform and gun presents how infatuated she is about the service John Brown has opted for. In the last two lines, there's a repetition of the phrase good old-fashioned war. The repetition emphasizes the underlying idea of the phrase. Stanza 5. Then the letters ceased to come. For a long time they did not come. They ceased to come for about 10 months or more. Then a letter finally came saying, "Go down and meet the train. Your sons are coming home from the war." In the fifth stanza, the war has already broken out. Consequently, letters have ceased to arrive. More than 10 months have passed. Still, John Brown's mother has not got any response. At last, a letter comes. The letter contains the message of her son's arrival from the war. However, this section creates a tensed mood in the poem. Stanza 6. She smiled and went right down. She looked everywhere around, but she could not see her soldier son in sight. But as all the people passed, she saw her son at last. When she did, she could hardly believe her eyes. The mother becomes happy after getting the letter. She quickly goes right down to the station and looks everywhere for her son. But she cannot find her son there. After the station becomes clear, she sees her son. But she isn't happy with what she sees. She cannot believe that she has to see her son in this condition. Stanza 7. Oh, his face was all shot up and his hand was all blown off, and he wore a metal brace around his waist. He whispered, kind of slow, in a voice she did not know, while she couldn't even recognize his face. "Oh Lord, not even recognize his face. In this section, Bob Dylan depicts the brutality of war. John Brown's face is severely damaged and he has lost his hand in the war. Moreover, there is a metal brace round his waist to support him while walking. He whispers something to his mother, but she cannot hear his voice. She cannot even recognize the face that once made her so happy. Stanza 8. Oh, tell me, my darling son, pray tell me what they done. How is it you come to be this way? He tried his best to talk, but his mouth could hardly move, and the mother had to turn her face away. The mother of John Brown laments the condition of her only son. The fascination with the war has faded from her mind, and she has understood the harsh reality of war. However, in the last two lines, the poet says that John's condition is so bad that his mother cannot even look at him. Stanza 9. Don't you remember, Ma? When I went off to war, you thought it was the best thing I could do. I was on the battleground, you were home acting proud. You wasn't there standing in my shoes. The poet presents the disillusionment of John Brown. John Brown reminds his mother about her fascination with him joining the military. She was rather proud of her son. But on the battlefield, John wasn't proud of his services. He was rather agitated with the brutality of war. For this reason, he says to his mother, You weren't there standing in my shoes. Stanza 10. Oh, and I thought when I was there, God, what am I doing here? I'm a trying to kill somebody or dying trying. But the thing that scared me most was when my enemy came close, and I saw that his face looked just like mine. O Lord, just like mine. The 10th stanza contains the confession of the titular character. According to him, when he was on the battlefield, he didn't know what he was doing there. The situation made it clear that John Brown had to kill his enemy or he would be killed by someone else. This is the truth of war. There is no glory in it. In the last three lines, the poet presents the revelation of John Brown when he came across one of his enemies. He felt that his enemy was another human being just like him. Stanza 11. And I couldn't help but think, through the thunder, rolling and stink, that I was just a puppet in a play, and through the roar and smoke, the string is finally broke, and a cannonball blew my eyes away. In this stanza, John Brown refers to the image of the battlefield and says that he was just like a puppet in a play. The play is a metaphorical reference to politics. At last, he refers to the cannonball that blew his eyes away. Moving on to stanza 12, which is the concluding stanza. As he turned away to walk, his ma was still in shock at seeing the metal brace that helped him stand. But as he turned to go, he called his mother close and dropped his medals down into her hand. In the last section of John Brown, the poet refers to the mother's reaction. She is in shock to see her son standing with the help of the metal brace. He cannot even stand on his feet after returning from the war. This thought has made her feel broken. Moreover, the medals which Brown drops down into his mother's hand is an ironic reference to the futility of war. Now, let us discuss the literary devices used in the poem. First of all, we have alliteration, which is the close repetition of consonant sounds in a sentence. Examples: to fight on a foreign shore. He stood straight. I was just a puppet in a play. The second literary device is exclamation, which expresses a sudden cry or remark expressing strong emotions, surprise, or pain. Examples: Oh Lord, not even recognize his face. While she couldn't even recognize his face. Oh Lord, just like mine. Repetition is a third device, which is a literary device used to repeat the same words or phrases to emphasize an idea. Example: Oh Lord, not even recognize his face. Oh Lord, just like mine. The fourth and the last device used is irony, which is an instance which can be seen in the last paragraph of Bob Dylan's John Brown. Ironically, when John returns from the war, he hands over the medals to his mother, but his condition is pathetic. The medal that was supposed to bring joy and pride to his mother only serves to leave his mother in shock. With this, we come to the end of this video. Children, some of you have requested for notes and questions and answers related to the chapters and poems that I explain in my channel. You will be glad to know that my online English coaching classes are going on, and anyone who wishes to get detailed notes of the chapters and the poems is always welcome to join. The details of my online classes are given in the description. Thanks for watching.